Hi, welcome to the Please Bear With Us podcast, where we talk about family, friends, faith, and anything in between. All right, so last podcast, I failed to mention that Joey was gone.
Yeah,
So,
I appreciate that, Tyler. And I'm
yeah.
back now. Scott's not here today.
Yeah, so
I'll
now
start with that.
Scott's
So
gone.
I'm ahead of the game.
Yeah. Yeah, so this time we're putting it out there for Scott is gone again, Joey's back, and so that's this what do they call it, the skinny?
The skinny on it. Well,
Yeah.
it's funny because you brought it up at breakfast when we were getting fat at the Awful Waffle.
Yes.
So that's the skinny on it. But yeah, I mean, that's how important I am. He said they sat there the entire time. And
So I did put it in the description of
description.
Yes, I was like, Joey's gone
It's
temporarily.
It's been a wee bit crazy, just busy. We were on vacation. We went camping. We've had, my goodness, ball. Football started. Although I've got a story with that in a second. So yeah, a little bit of wildness, but that's life. That's life. So Tyler, how you been, brother?
I have been well. I am definitely more. I've been playing video games less in some ways, and then playing video games more in others because I am using an Oculus Quest to work out now. So
I'm gonna hang some like cameras up and just videotape you, and I'm gonna post them on TikTok.
oh yeah,
I bet we will make some money off of that.
probably because it's just one guy just huffing and puffing while swinging his arms randomly at
People that only he can see.
Yes, except for it's not people. It's like kind of like Guitar Hero, how you have these like circles.
Like indicators.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then if you hit it on the correct beat and on the correct time, it shoots a like big circle out, kind of like you hit the middle of it, and or in Guitar Heroes when you hit the note at the correct time, like perfectly, it kind of does something. And so that one's the hardest part, is because like you start to get tired and you're like trying to hit the right note at the right time, and you're just makes you mad because you're not hitting it correctly. So
You fail.
Yes.
Right, repeatedly.
well, yeah, because you can still hit the target without like losing your combo, but you don't get as many points, and you're facing off against other people, so it's competitive, and you can't go back. Like you can't pause it and be like, ah, crap.
Right, redo.
No. Yeah, you have to go through the workout, and I did about 10 minutes worth of workout, and then I was like, you know what, this is good, but I'm like sweating like crazy and kind of out of breath, so I took a breather and went and I had to feed some cats that my aunt was out of town, so I went over and fed her cats. So I got back from that, and I was like, okay, I'll just work out again. And I did a 10-minute workout, or 8 minutes, and I was like, okay, this won't be that bad because I just did 10 minutes. And it was like 8 adrenaline-filled minutes, and I was gassed by the end of it. And I was like, oh my goodness, like this game does end up putting you through its paces. So I was like, okay. And it said I had burned like 130 calories in like 20 minutes, basically. So I don't know how accurate that is, but I was like, that doesn't sound too bad.
That's awesome.
And
that's really good, actually.
yeah.
You got to keep doing it. I would just start setting goals like I'm going to do 10 minutes today in the morning. I'm going to do 8 minutes in the afternoon. Tomorrow, I'm going to do 11 minutes, 9 minutes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Start doing some goals, even if it's not every day, it's every 2 days or something.
Right. So my goal was to do 5 times a week, and then I realized that I am doing other activities, like I did pickleball, and that was one day. So I didn't exercise on the Oculus because I exercised in the pickleball, and then I went disc golfing, and
Lost a disc.
Yes, I did. I lost a disc. Didn't slip one though, so we're good. But the searching for that disc and then walking basically the whole course up until a certain extent, because we actually had to go. My nephew was like, "Hey, my nephew's mom is gonna, pick him up around." Like say 3:00, and it was like 2:00, and I was like, "Oh well, we got to get you home and all this stuff." And then as we're on our way home, he's like, "Oh, my mom changed it to 4:00." So then I was like, "Okay, so now we have time to eat," and so we did that, and which was good. Had some Penn Station, so not everybody knows what that is, but it's a sub place. And
Warm subs.
yes,
Yeah. I haven't had that in years, by the way.
Oh,
it was
really?
good. Like I used to really like it. And now I got a question. They serve really good French fries at Penn Station.
Yes.
Do you put vinegar on your French fries?
So I haven't tried it yet.
It's so good.
I like their ketchup with it so much. I mean, it's just Heinz, but it
Well, vinegar is in ketchup.
yes.
So
Yes.
technically,
So your hindsight.
oh boy, here we
Yes.
go already. He slid in 2 today. If you guys didn't catch the first one, but we'll see if you guys caught it.
I slipped it in there.
Yeah,
Basically.
So you were watching cats. I was herding cats because I coach kindergarten and first grade football. That's like herding wildcats. So we had a little bit of the same thing going on there. I did play softball. I haven't played. I used to be a good ball player.
Yeah.
Well, at least I'm a legend in my own eyes, right? But
right.
Played in a softball tournament and hadn't played in about 10 years. I can still do some things, I found out, which made me feel pretty good. My boys got to see it. Made me feel pretty good. But it was like first inning, within about 3 minutes, right quad.
Oh, really?
Second inning, left groin. Third inning, right groin.
Yeah.
Second day, left quad. And then it was just downhill, But your whole body's just not used to moving like that. But it was fun. So,
Yeah.
I do miss it. I'd love to play some more. And my wife even put the little blessing on it. But it's like, I don't have time. I had a guy call me and say, "Can you play Tuesday nights?" And I'm like, football.
Yeah.
And kids are more important. I selfishly, I want to play, but, I have to put them first. So Tyler, I know you have some things you want to put out there, but I'm going to put, I brought a friend this morning. I brought my little boy, my 6-year-old, Lincoln is his name. And Tyler, what did you notice when Lincoln got out of the car?
Well, the first thing I noticed was that he was in the car.
That's
true. I was like, "Oh, hey, look!" And then the second thing I noticed was his arm.
What's wrong with his arm?
It is in a cast.
Yeah, he's in a full arm cast. So yesterday was Friday. I actually got off work early. So God's got a funny sense of humor. But our CNO had scheduled a retreat, and part of that retreat is he took us golfing 9 holes on his own dollar, and then took us to lunch, and we kind of had a little seminar, a couple little speakers, and he said, "Now it's a retreat, so you're going home. Don't check your emails." Well, which none of us, I'm sure, complied with. But I'm literally 5 minutes from home, and my wife calls me and is like, "Hey, we're going to the ER." First off, what? Like, I work at 1. No, like, we're not going back. Like, I'm like, what's going on? She's like, well, Brody, which is my oldest, and my middle Lincoln, we're playing, and rough house. Brody's at that age. He's 11, and he's starting to get stronger, and Lincoln and him, they play a lot still, but they were playing with plushies, and just imaginations running wild, running around the house inside, and Brody, one way or the other, just basically rammed into him. I don't think it was intentional, but it's like, pay attention, buddy, and knocked him down, and Lincoln just yelped out, I guess was hurting, and Mary came upstairs and was like, what's going on? And instantly it was like, yep, your arm's broken. So I meet her, and we get in the same vehicle, and I'm holding on to him because he's a little, he's upset, 6 years old, and I can see it's deformed, but I'm like, okay, it's broken, but I don't think it's like terrible. Well, then he gets out of the car, and his arm kind of hangs down, and it's like an S. And I'm like, oh yeah, it's really broken. So we went and we saw ortho first, which was kind of a weird way to do it, but me working in an ER, I'm trying to avoid the ER. And typically, like, they send you to ortho from the ER anyhow. Well, in this case, they sent us from ortho to the ER because they wanted to sedate him, and they do that only in the ER. So then ortho followed us down, sedated him, reset the bone, or reduced it is what we would call that, reduce the fracture. He fractured both his radius and ulna. So there's 2 bones in your lower arm, right mid-forearm, snapped them both. And I showed you the x-ray, a little gnarly. So
it looks like an X.
Yes,
for the X-ray.
It looks like an X. It does. So, anywho, doctor, he's talking to us, and Lincoln is my middle, like I said, and of the 3, really, because the youngest is just too young, but this is his second year in football, and he was super excited, and he wanted these gloves that I promised him last year. I got him those, and this mouthpiece. It was probably too much money, and we bought him cleats, and we're getting everything ready, and we've literally had 2 practices, and the doctor says, yeah, you're going to wear this cast for at least 6 weeks and 12 weeks of no vigorous activity. That means no football. And he didn't fully understand it. My heart kind of sunk. And then he asked me, and then he cried, and he got upset, which broke my heart even more. But I think the thing I wanted to mention is I selfishly was upset and kind of mad that I wasn't going to get to coach my little guy. And it goes to show you how I think sometimes when somebody else is hurting or in a moment, how we can have our own selfish, like, a loss from that. At the end of the day, he's smiling and excited that he's going to help me coach, but selfishly, I'm kind of mad that he's not going to get to play. And I don't know, has that ever happened to you?
Not with my son.
Well, if you have a son, we don't know about your son.
Yeah.
So
right.
But just in life in general,
it'd be probably impossible at this point.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, there was this chick named Mary, and
no, I have none of those. For you, maybe.
No. I'm talking Bible. My wife is Mary, but like.
Oh, okay. I was like, where are you going with this?
No. No. So Mary was impregnated, miraculously, right?
Miraculously, yeah. So
I'm just saying, unless like somehow, anyhow.
Yeah.
Random, odd, derailed conversation, but.
There will be no miraculous pregnancy, right. That's for sure.
But have you ever got yourself into that spot where you're like, man, pity me when somebody else is hurting?
Yeah, so I actually did this in a weird way because I fractured my arm doing this, but I was like, hey, my friend Zach, and I was like, let's go down this hill while we're longboarding. And Zach didn't have the best balance, and probably the board didn't have the best balance, and so Zach falls off. And so my board was much faster, had like bearings and stuff that was making it much quicker. But I look back and I'm like, oh, Zach fell off. So my gut reaction was to step off my board and try to go help him. Well, in stepping off my board, I did like 50 spin moves.
Unintentionally?
Unintentional barrel rolls. And so I ended up fracturing my arm. Now, it wasn't a large break, apparently, because like I didn't have – it looked normal. Like nothing happened, in my opinion, but it just hurt like crazy. And so I couldn't like lift it or move it or anything. But I didn't go to the ER or anything like that. So for 2 weeks, I just kind of chilled with it. And my parents were out of town, so they didn't really – understand the pain I was in, because like I didn't go to the hospital because I was like, you know what, I don't even know what to do at this point. But then I went to my family doctor, and the family doctor was like, let's get some x-rays, and he's like, yep, it's fractured, but he's like, all I could do is put it in a sling, and he's like, you're already 2 weeks into it, and like I can prescribe you some like low grade like medication for it, like nothing, like just what I was taking was Tylenol, and he's like, that's probably all I could prescribe you. Yeah. And so so that was fun. But so that's my kind of example of like I saw somebody hurting and then immediately tried to do something about it. But that's kind of not the exact same thing as what you were talking about. But I don't know. Like I've seen disappointment before. Like my dad was a coach, and they wouldn't let him coach me, and so that kind of stunk. But I mean, I grew up being coached by him, so it wasn't a big deal to me. And I'm not the best player on the team by any means. Like that year, I probably sat next to the coach and talked to the coach, like just about the game more than actually playing it. And so he was like, at practice, he'd be like, Tyler, what are you doing? Like, uh, he's like, you're helping me the whole time, but you're not like, I mean, I was practicing, like I was doing what I needed to do, but then when it comes to games, I'm just like chatting with him. And so I was like, I'm fine with that. And so I don't know. That's probably one of the things that was kind of a disappointing event. But
Well, I think it shows human nature. It's so we are so easily selfish. Like, and that's a strong word. I'm saying it about myself, I think, but like,
how selfish of you to say that about yourself.
correct. See my point, but like, I think we do. I think sometimes we, I guess there's pride involved. I guess there's, just self-pity. I think it's so easy. Humans, we fall into that all the time. Pity me, pity me, pity me. And I think it's because we do take our eyes off of what matters. And I think we, in that moment, probably don't have the faith that we should have, right? Like, because in that moment, I should have been probably thinking this happened for a reason. But we struggle with that a lot because we have our own ambitions, we have our own plan, and we have our own idea of what should happen. And when it doesn't go our way, we're like, well, pity me, like. So I think that has something to do with it. But it was one of those things that kind of, at the end of the day, he is okay. Like, and he is good. At this point, doesn't have to get surgery, he'll get checked for a few weeks just to make sure nothing moves. But he's good, and we're blessed. And he's smiling and just wants to wear his practice jersey, his mouthpiece that's crazy looking, and his one glove because he won't get to put the other one on.
Yeah.
And wants a whistle. And he's 6 years old.
I don't know if he can get a whistle.
Well, I'm going to give him a whistle, and I'm probably going to regret it. But
probably for practices, because if you give him a whistle
during the game, we'll be in trouble. Yeah, he'll get tossed. He'll be the first coach to get ejected.
Yeah.
So, anywho, I just thought it was I was like, I wanted to put that out there because we do that a lot more than I think we even know. When something doesn't work out, and we're remotely involved. Pity me.
Yeah.
So there's your lesson of the day. So Tyler, I know you had a couple things you wanted to bring up. I've got one more thing I'm not going to bring up yet, but
so I'm going to bring up something completely different because while talking to you and listening to you, I noticed that my setup that we use for podcasting is this like white board. I don't know how else to describe it. It's like a circuit board or something like that, but it's just got a bunch of soundboard with a bunch of with a bunch of knobs and if I could talk, places for microphones and stuff like that to be plugged in. And I see that one of my cousins must have messed with it because it is not in the standard position. So I'm going to move it down to the standard position. And I don't think it'll make any difference to me, but it may make a difference to Joey's mic. But it's now in the standard position. So,
was I really loud before, potentially?
Potentially, yes.
So they already wondered where the loudmouth was last week.
Right.
And now you're making it even worse. Thanks, Tyler. That's called sabotage.
I'm adjusting it back down so you won't be as loud now.
Are you making a point?
No. I just noticed it was in the wrong position. I'm like, I'm hoping that they didn't twist the knobs as well.
Well, if they did, we're all muted then.
Yeah.
I mean,
so because of that, I basically, Scott and Joey both have microphones that I have adjusted to their voice a little bit so that it's easier to hear them or to, like, Joey talks gibberish, so it's actually a translator. So,
There's a song about that.
oh yeah,
Yeah, I don't remember all the words. Nothing but gibberish.
oh okay.
Yeah, it's I think it's an
I don't
Eminem
know
song.
it.
I don't know. I just know like that word gibberish is such a cool word. Like when you hear it.
Yeah, and if you can rap it, it's
I'm not going to do it right now.
yeah.
I did rap to one of my employees one day.
Yeah, you did it on here too.
Did I?
So yes, you
Sweet.
did.
Not bad for a country boy.
Yeah. But yeah, so I had an interesting topic that we've been discussing in our we have a men's prayer meeting on Friday mornings, and you get up at an ungodly hour to go talk about godly things.
It's literally like 5 a.m., isn't it?
Yeah,
to be there?
well, that's when you get there at 6, but you
Okay.
have to be up at like 5:30 ish, depending on how you race to the church. But the question that is on people's minds is, do you think there's going to be animals in heaven, like your animal and
All
stuff like
dogs
that?
go to heaven.
Yes.
Period. Mic drop.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts on that? Because I have some pretty strong opinions, but I figured I'd hit you with one that's out
Okay,
in
yeah,
left
this
field.
one's out there a little bit. So, okay, so we're all God's creation. We were given the priority in creation. We were given all of creation, humans being we, us. Scripturally, I don't know if there's much there to say yay or nay. I'm going to go off of what I truly kind of just think. I think that heaven is a place that God wants to celebrate his creation and his glory. And I think that part of that is he wants us to have eternal happiness through him. Now, I think sometimes we look at that and we're like, all we need is him. Very true, right? Figuratively speaking, very true. However, I think that God being unselfish, because I don't think he's a selfish God at all, I could see scenarios. I could see the hypothetical that maybe they are up there, in perfect form, or in some form, or in some representation. I am giving you the vaguest answer maybe I can give you, but my short answer would be yes. But beyond for a reason of exactly why and with evidence, I don't have much there for you.
Gotcha. So there is I'll have to get my phone out here, and that's going to be a difficulty in itself. But there is I'm going to look it up, and I have an opinion on it because I'm looking at God's creation, and I'm like, why would you create it if, like, you put it in the Garden of Eden and
If
stuff like
it
that?
was meaningless,
Yeah, if it was meaningless, why would it why would you
not continue it in heaven?
Right. It's something that we were put in dominion over it, and God allowed
Us to rule over it.
Yeah, and so.
And I don't think heaven is just this white hazy place. I think heaven is the best of the best and everybody in their best form. If that makes sense.
Yeah, like
that's kind of where I'm coming from. So maybe it's a similar point. Go ahead, though. I'm interrupting you. I've got the brick, though. You can't throw it at me. He threw a brick at me last time.
Did I?
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, I don't know. It's about, probably a 2x3 brick, 2x4. It's actually a little, what are these things called, Tyler?
So
stress ball thing.
Yeah,
it's in the shape of a brick.
Stress reliever.
It's a stress brick.
Yes, and it's a good one too.
But I've got them at my house, but they're real bricks, and I throw them at people to relieve stress. Those are fun.
Those are much more one-time use, I guess, because
depends how effective you are.
Yeah, They get stained a lot easier.
Right. Red.
Yeah. Um, so I'm looking for it in Ezekiel, but I think I'm typing it in wrong. Because all right, sorry for the
They always say you
pausing.
should allow 15 seconds of awkward silence.
Yeah, so we're not at 15 quite yet.
Well, no, because we just
but
interrupted it.
yes.
We're not going to leave you in silence for 15 seconds.
Yeah, we're going to leave you in silence for at least 7, and then we're going to I know it's in Ezekiel, and so I'm going to just prove the point of it says whether a soul, the ox, crap, now I can't say it right, whether the soul of an ox goes up or down. Like it says, who knows whether the soul of an ox goes up or down.
Okay.
And I believe it's in Ezekiel. And
You're going to hear pages flip. I'm in a clunky King James Bible. I'm going to do a little
yeah,
work
it's a
here.
huge one. It's a life application study Bible that was given to me, I think, on my 18th birthday.
So keep talking to that, Tyler.
And so that's why I have some belief that it would be there would be animals in heaven because it's just if they have souls, then why wouldn't they be? Now I don't know if there are certain things that it's like I don't know if all animals go or not. Like I have no idea, but like you would expect like a porcupine to be there. I don't know, a little chinchilla, but
Chinchilla.
yeah.
So the scripture, give us a highlight of that again.
So it's the like who knows whether the soul of an ox goes up or down.
Do you remember
Is
the context beyond that?
I
don't have my phone right. Look on there as well to try to help you.
Yeah, I'm trying to think because
each person is responsible for their own sin. Let's see here. Behold, all souls are mine. As the soul of the Father, so also the soul of the Son is mine. The soul that sinneth, it shall die. Let's see. Hold on.
Yep, this is where the awkward silence comes
Yeah.
in because we're trying to figure it out, and so I'm gonna look at maybe it's oxen, and so I'm going to check it out and see if it's that, but it's not. Like I can't find it right now, and I'm like, man, like this. I may actually have to go into Ezekiel and just look it up because
Well, that's what I'm kind of looking through 18, but because that's where it talks about each person responsible of the sin, the riddle of the great eagle. Well, at the end of the day, I truly think that our Father is a loving God. I think that our Father, nothing was created. I don't think He created anything to not be eternal, right? Because I think we can go deeper into this, Tyler. He created the world perfect. All things, it says, and it was perfect, right? And it was perfect over and over and over and over and over and over.
Yeah.
He created all things perfect in His image, right? So, that's a whole nother conversation because in His image wasn't just what He saw, but there's plans, there's vision, there's a lot that goes into that. But He created all things perfect, and I think that initially we were sinless. We were probably eternal at one point. It was designed that this would be eternity and it would be paradise and all things would be in paradise. And yet then we selfishly eat from the one tree that we couldn't eat from out of the probably hundreds of thousands it might have been in that garden. We really don't know. I've heard different theories on that. So I'm going to argue based off of that, and I think that he's not going to waste his creation, and I think he knows there's certain things that we will enjoy or we do enjoy, and I think that heaven will only be perfect examples of his creation because we are all made perfect through his blood. Does that kind of make sense? I'm kind of circling. I'm trying to connect that dot, but I truly do. I think that we will have everything we've ever wanted and needed, right? In a pure way. I don't want that to sound like any selfish, but we gain the ultimate by going to heaven. So I do. I think that they would be there. It's going to drive you nuts because
I'm going to have to find it too, and I just cannot find it right now. And there's probably more verses about donkey than there is about ox, but I don't know. It's so weird because I thought I had written it down in a note that I had, but I guess I didn't, and so now it's like, well, crap, because I had this figured out and now I don't.
Well, but it's still a cool, like it's a really cool question to ask, and I think it's a fair question to pose. But I think that it's just one of the wonders of God's glory, and I think He'll exceed our expectations. I know He will exceed. Like, so I don't even think we can fathom what will be up there. Like, we could live in our home in a perfect state in heaven. You know what I mean? Like, in a way that it's comfortable, peaceful, 100% free of sin, pure. You know what I'm saying? Like, I have no idea, and I don't think we can even begin to understand what that will be like.
So, I mean, like, I believe that there is. It talks about like your service and like what you're doing on earth is just like a prelude to what you're going to be doing in heaven, and so
it goes back to the principle, the idea we all have got a purpose.
Yes, and so whether you're like, struggling with mental health and then all of a sudden you're facing demons in the in heaven, but at the same time, like, that probably wouldn't be true because God's gonna wipe them out. But just stuff like that. Like, you never know what is going to go on in heaven, but it would be nice to see, like, because we're going to sit there and glorify God and worship Him, but our worship is, in my opinion, is like you get up in the morning and you take care of your kids. That's worship. Like, you're doing it in a way that is loving and kind most of the time. So
some of the time,
So, I mean, that is doing what your purpose is, and also just, I don't know. So, like, when we get up there, my friend was like, maybe it's just a giant light bulb, and God is light. So I was like, I don't know. I really don't think that's it. But
LED?
Yeah, LED or incandescent. Neon, possibly.
Lasers.
But yes, it could be lasers. It could be a laser light show. And
techno music.
Yes.
Oh, God, we are out of control.
Yeah, but
you guys can just ignore that part.
Yeah, pretty much. Just ignore the last 10 minutes of conversation because...
Well, it's funny you talk about light. So I'm going to give you some words. Saul to Paul. Blind to see. Dead to alive. Saul, blind, and dead. What do they have in common?
A really bad construction accident.
Really do, right? Okay. So what I'm getting at, right? So Saul was doing some pretty cruddy stuff. He was like persecuting, right?
I don't know if it implies it that he's killing Christians,
Well,
but
wasn't he over like the stoning of Stephen? Was he?
yes.
Yeah.
I mean, like he didn't necessarily use a stone himself, but he watched as everybody did
Yeah.
it.
He was like the foreman,
Yeah.
maybe. I don't, but so it's funny. Saul was initially Saul, right? He was not Paul. And although he was blinded, Saul was always blind.
Yeah.
He was blind to what he couldn't see, what was right in front of him, right? And because he did not see what was in front of him, he was dead. And under that I wrote us, the word us. But then yet, through Saul being blinded, because he was dead, he became Paul by the grace of God. And that he could now see, and he was now alive. He had eternal life. And he was using this all to God's glory at this point. And that's him with a capital H, right? So us and him, not us and them. And I this came up, my kids, they went to Sunday school. And I said, "What'd you learn about?" And they said, how Saul was blinded and became Paul. And they were very excited to talk about it. And I was thinking about it, and I'm like, we do not talk about that story enough, because Saul is nothing but us. Saul is nothing but us before we had the blood of Christ, before we accepted the blood of Christ. And it's every non-believer in our world. If you think about this, right? So people always ask the question, how do you know the difference between a believer and a non-believer? Well, there's usually an answer of some sort around the lines of, or I'll give you my answer of, one who does not believe, or who does not know, may even be the better term, right? They don't even understand the wrong that they're doing. They can't even fully grasp it. They don't have many second thoughts about it. And they won't hesitate to do it again.
Yeah, it's kind of for me, like, God loved Saul enough to blind him and to change his life, and so it I mean, it's got to be humbling, because you go from persecuting to trying to witness and save, and everybody pretty much. Like, he's he gets to speak to King Agrippa, and I think it's king, but
I think it was a king, yeah.
yeah. And so just the amount of times that Paul was able to influence and witness is outstanding, because you look at his life before he was renamed, pretty much, and you just see the fruit of a dead tree, basically.
Yeah. There's the saying of God uses ordinary people in extraordinary ways, and Paul's a great example of that. And I think Paul, just like all of us, there's the saying, right? God will often bring us to our lowest moment, to our deepest despair, so he can pull us out of the pit, right? So he can show his glory. So we've all had a blinding moment, Tyler. We've all been blind, but then we've all had a blinding moment. I think there's kind of a figurative and a literal there, but we've all had a blinding moment. I mean, Tyler, your story talks, I'm sure there's moments where he had to blind you so you could see. Because sometimes I think, just like with me, we already have our blinders on, and he'll take those away.
Yeah.
Which is in turn, right? That's our current vision. He'll take that vision away, that the ability of us to see, maybe not so much, but yet what we see. He blinds us to what we see so we can see what we need to be seeing, right? What we need to be looking at. And I think even through our faith walk, he does that over and over and over, because just like I said, my own stubbornness and my own pride and my own desires and my own ideas and my own plans, just like with Lincoln's injury or with whatever else doesn't work out in life, will blind me to the truth or the bigger picture. Mm-hmm. Sometimes he has to blind me from that even, so I can see what I need to see. And I just think that it's even, we look at the current state of our world. There's a lot of Sauls in our world right now. There are a lot of people who have no idea, right? Perversion and the things that, and I'm calling a spade a spade. I'm not meaning it in a judgmental way when I say these things, but just the immoral acts and the evilness and the corruptness and the crudeness and the pride and the greed and honestly, you almost feel bad if you look at it this way for these people, and because they can't see. They have no idea. They can't even begin to understand their sin. And not that we're perfect. We still sin. So we fall in the same umbrella. We just have this thing called Christ, this incredible person called Christ that has saved us. But they can't even see. We're to a point, and I asked you earlier, I said, is a country song on your topic list? Well, there was Jason Aldean, right, released a song, and people are attacking him over this song because our society is so warped that they think everything's about them. Yeah. He's speaking some truth in it, but he's not attacking any one person. I truly don't think so. It's a song. But there's some truth in it, and it's very frustrating the fact that our world is so blinded. But we have the hope of Saul becoming Paul. And I think that it's just a cool way to look at things, and it's a different way. And I think that that's what God wants us to do. He wants us to grow through Scripture, and I think He'll put more on our hearts, and we'll bear more fruit, right? And we'll have more understanding and more application. And I think that that's just kind of where I feel like the Scripture can be very pertinent in a little bit of a non-traditional way, maybe.
Mm-hmm. I feel like I had a friend one time that was like talking about Miley Cyrus and how she had gone off the deep end. And
that was your childhood crush, wasn't it?
At one time, yes.
Was it?
Not Hannah Montana though. So, but he was like, man, she's gone off the deep end, and basically, the Bible talks about the Lord not being able to, or like she's in sin and that she's going straight to hell and stuff. And I was like, man, I get what you're saying, but at the same time, like, the Lord uses people in mysterious ways, basically. Like,
sure,
you never know if she could come back to the Lord later in life. And I mean, she definitely went through a phase, and but you never know. Like, I mean, we talked about it last week about Gene Simmons and Kiss, and just how he was actually pro Tim Tebow, basically, which in terms of defending his faith. But the effects of like Penn and Teller, and just how an atheist can see the importance of a Bible, even though he doesn't believe in it. He just was seeing like the faith that it took for someone to give him a Bible, thinking that it's what he needs to go to heaven. And it is, but at the same time, like, they don't believe that. And so it's a struggle for me in some ways, but I still have hope, like, where there's people in my life that I'm like, man, like, I want them to get saved, but I just feel like they're never going to. And that's not on me. It's really I have to let go and let God handle it, because that is part of the issue is that I want it, and if they don't want it, or if God doesn't want it, like, it's not. I mean, God truly wants all to come to repentance to Him, But at the same time, if someone's just stubborn and closes their heart to God, like he gave them free will.
Yeah.
So there it's one of those things where I hate it for those people, but it's all in God's hands, and if he can save Saul and blind him, and I mean that's where they talk about like come to Jesus moments,
Big time.
I mean I had one of those for sure while I was in the hospital, because I didn't realize how much of a problem I was in until like I started taking medicine that helped me. And then once I started taking medicine that helped me, I kind of had that come to Jesus moment of like, wow, I'm in trouble. I'm in like I'm in trouble physically, I'm in trouble mentally, I'm in trouble financially and legally and all these things. And so just trying to get back into the swing of things of like, wow, how does my life change from here? And how do I become humble in a situation where I thought, I mean, with my delusions and stuff, I thought I was like a military man and thought I could do no wrong. And, well, not basically that, but
You didn't realize the wrong in
I
what you
didn't
were doing
realize,
because
yeah,
you were
like,
working for a cause or a
yes.
right.
And so like I knew some right from wrong at times, but it wasn't the same scale. Like I was because it was a cause and stuff like that, I was like, oh yeah, I'm fine to be here or there. And I mean it's one of those things where, hey, I've been in handcuffs before, and I hate to admit that, but at the same time it's like, yep, it's happened. And so a lot of it's just mental health. Like they're not even like arresting you or anything like that. It's just like they're trying to
detain you so you can be safe.
Yes. And so like I've been detained before to get into an ambulance. The ambulance took off the cuffs because it wasn't needed at that time. But the officer was like sitting me down, making sure I was okay. But at the same time, like the officer had to be safe for himself. And I didn't understand it at the time necessarily, but I do now a lot more. And so it was because I wasn't being like wild and violent, but the officer doesn't know that. And so that's just one of, unfortunately, many events I've had.
Mm-hmm.
And so it just the pain of it is still there, but at the time I was like, yeah, these basically in my mind I was like a military guy, so I was like, oh, these guys are just part of the government system that I'm against. And then I was part of a government system that was higher up or something like that. And so like the FBI was following me and all this stuff. And so it just became delusional to the extreme. Well, I'll tell you this. In my opinion with mania, it doesn't start on one day. It starts like a month or two before. You just lose your touch with reality just a little bit,
And then you start ramping up.
and then it just keeps ramping. And so you're, by the end of it, you're like your mind has just given up on what is true, and it has started thinking in what is perceived to be true. Like you may at first think, like if you've ever seen The Matrix, there's a part where this cat walks by, and then this cat walks by again like 1 second later, and they're like, huh, deja vu. And they're like, no, that's bad. Like that means there's someone after you and stuff like that. So basically you start making connections to things. And for me, that's what was happening, was like, this guy's wearing a green shirt and I'm wearing green pants, and that means he's on my team. And
Yeah.
like all this stuff. And
You were
so
making correlations
yes,
that really were just delusional, but
yeah. And so like I believed I was a detective, so I was like, yeah, I can speed and all this stuff and not get in trouble for it. And that's not true. Even detectives get in trouble for speeding. But
so you did not think you were Mario Andretti.
yeah,
Okay.
but at the same time, like I was just like I was off my rocker. So the and the good news is that the law wins. The law always wins. And but the law had care and concern for me, and so it could have been bad, but it wasn't as bad. And the law or the judge knew that I was sick, and that changed everything. And so that helps tremendously. And so for me, the Saul becoming Paul was like I was in a mental institute, and then I started getting better, and I was like, wow, like what have I done? What have I become? And how do I get better? And just that I was like, Jesus has healed me. I see that now, and I'm now better than I've ever been. And so, but I also have this humble side of me of like, if I ever go backward, I'll probably die. So I've like got to maintain steps to stay forward, take my medicine.
Well, I think that's your awareness too of what you've
yeah.
been through, your situation, your struggles, your needs, all of that.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's just like the "Blinded by the Light" song, and then all of a sudden you don't know what the next words are.
Yeah.
But it the I don't know. I feel like Saul to Paul is a really good example. I didn't change my name or anything, but I really felt a difference in my calling and stuff like that, and just being able to be out and about and free, and in the sense of like I'm not in a hospital right now or anything like that. When I could have been in a hospital for years.
Right.
So,
right. We've all had our Saul to Paul moment. Well, maybe moments, and we may have some more of those. I just think that's something that people need to chew on a little bit more. Remember, we've got a lot of Sauls. We've all had our Saul moment. We've all had our Saul to Paul moment, or a lot of us have. And I think that it will help us when we look at the world to realize that there are some people who have not yet had that moment. There's many who have not yet had that moment, and that there are also, with that, many that have not seen the light. And remember, to see, we need light. But the light we need is that of our Father, the true light of the world. And that's, I think, to a deeper conversation. But as to, we are to be, right, a light. We are to shine His light to help, I think, with others in those Saul to Paul moments. And ultimately, it's between them and God. But all we can do is be a light. And I think, Tyler, you indicated that earlier. There's numerous people you worry about, and we all have those people. Be a light.
mm-hmm.
Be a light. Help blind them to the world so they can see the light. So with that, Tyler, we have survived another one.
Yes.
Although maybe those who have listened have survived another one at this point. I don't know the proper way there, because I think we enjoy it, and we hope other people enjoy it. But
I think that I have found the
he
soul
found
of an ox.
in Ezekiel. Or did you find Ezekiel bread in the freezer?
No, I did not find Ezekiel bread in the.
Did you guys know that was in frozen food section? Have you ever been?
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had no idea. Well, I did once I found out, but you know what I mean.
Oh, I found it, and then.
This is going to drive him nuts, guys.
Okay, so. It is Ecclesiastes, not Ezekiel. That is my problem.
He was looking in the frozen foods, and it was
Yeah.
actually in the dry cereal.
Yes. So
All righty, what we got here? Ecclesiastes
3:21.
You guys got to look up this verse.
And it says, "Who knows whether the spirit of man goes upward and the spirit of the beast goes down into the earth?" That is the
Is there
so,
any? What's around it?
So I haven't looked around it yet. I remember reading it and just like it popping out to me, but so Ecclesiastes 3:21, and so I need to read Ecclesiastes, and that's where we're going to go silent for a minute.
We're going to let you guys off here shortly, but
Yes,
this is important.
there's only 22 verses in Ecclesiastes 3, so
I just got to it. I just skipped over it though. You said it's 3:21.
yep.
Okay.
I mean, this is the one where it's talking about there's a time to be born, a time to die,
Okay.
and there's just a lot of. It kind of makes me crazy because it's a time to kill and a time to heal.
Yeah. I saw
And
that.
like there's for me is like that talking about plants, or is that talking about like people, or because it I mean, it could be talking about sin, just like a time to
Yeah, this
kill.
is everything. It's just talking. So let me start at verse 17. This is KJV. This is what we have set down here. So it says, "I said in mine heart, God shall judge the righteous and the wicked, for there is a time for every purpose and every work. I said in mine heart concerning the estate of sons and men, that God might manifest them, and that they might see that they themselves are beasts." So there's a little bit of context there.
Yeah.
"For that which befalleth the sons of men befalleth beast."
Yeah, so for mine it says, "For what happens to the children of man and what happens to the beast is the same."
Okay. "Even one thing befalleth them, as one dieth, so dieth the other. Yeah, they all have one breath, so that man hath no preeminence above a beast, for all is vanity." What's 19 say?
So for me it says, let me finish off. 19 is just a big one. For what happens to the children of man and what happens to the beast is the same. As one dies, so does the other. They all have the same breath, and man has no advantage over the beast, for all is vanity. All go to one place. This is 20. All are from the dust, and to dust all return.
Go to 20 and then 21.
Yeah, and says who knows whether the spirit of man goes upward and the spirit of the beast goes down into the earth. So I saw that there is nothing better than that a man should rejoice in his work, for that is his lot. Who can bring him to see what will be after him? So
That's some deep scripture.
yeah.
So what we will leave you with today is take a look at Ecclesiastes and read Ecclesiastes 3. But I think what we'll also leave with is the question, do all dogs go to heaven?
Yeah.
In the meantime, guys, thank you, and please bear with us.